Hey, y'all. Hope it's been a great holiday season for you. Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, getting ready for the new year. This is our 54th show of the year.
Did I say 54? Well, it's
I must have
55.
miscounted.
So I really
I've
miscounted.
added 2 shows
Added
or
3
something.
shows.
Anyway, we're going to start this show off great. 2023, getting ready for 2024. There's going to be another episode of my yet to be named podcast with a dear friend of mine, Julie Salisbury from Conyers, Georgia. Stick around for all of that. Love you all. Happy Christmas. Happy New Year. I'm going to be dropping some pictures of the Christmas celebration in here. Peace, spread love. See you in 2024. To our next installment of the yet to be named podcast. I am waiting the arrival of one of my dearest, oldest, most beautiful friends, Julie Salisbury. So after the video was recorded, I called Julie, or I sent a voicemail and said, "Hey, am I pronouncing your last name correctly, Mr. Slow Reader?" She says, "No, Curtis, it's Salisbury, but no worries, I love you anyway." So for 20 years, I mispronounced my baby sister's last name. Randy, Julie, I'm sorry. Everyone, Julie Salisbury, my little sister. Yeah, we'll talk when she gets here, okay? The idea behind this podcast is being the person that our ancestors and our descendants are proud of. Hopefully, we've accomplished a few things in this short time that we spend on Earth that those behind and in front of us are proud of. There she is, y'all. That's that beautiful picture of my little sister. Different mama, different daddy, same father. You there, Julie? Whoops. She's coming in, y'all. Hopefully I can get her on. There she is. Oh, I love you.
Love you too. Happy New Year.
Oh, thank you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. What else we missed? Kwanzaa. We've got Hanukkah. We want to make sure that everyone feels welcome in our world.
That's exactly right. Because that's what you and I are all about since
Amen.
7th grade.
Wow. Y'all, she's jumping in before we get started. Little sis, and I've called you that for what? 34, almost, don't want to say how many years, right?
Curtis, it's probably been 50 years. And it's amazing because, you're just 45 and I'm 44. So, I mean, I don't know how that
happens. That math, how can we be parents, much less grandparents at this young age, right?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, so little sis, I got to share with everybody, and I'm trying to get this podcast launched in 2024. So I'm in that process. I've learned how to get it up. I will get the podcast recorded. Now I'm looking at those sites like Podbean and all these places. So that's the next step, which will be in the next couple of weeks. The idea about this particular podcast is, being the person that our ancestors, as well as our descendants, are going to be proud of, right?
Love it. I love it.
And the way I want to share that with my grandchild, and hopefully your grandchild, and even our children, is by not me looking at a camera and say, "Oh, I've done this, that, and the other." I want us to bring those stories out so that 100 years from now, our great grandkids can see how much we loved each other, how much we've supported each other over the years, and things that maybe your husband or your kids may not know, because
that's right.
So how do we start this thing? I need your help. Like, can I brag about you first? Well,
you can.
Okay, good.
Always.
Oh, I love that. This is my little sis. So, and I might cry telling this story.
Me too.
So Julie is the person that got me in a position to do work to support literacy. Julie is the person that got me on television. She wrote my first bio. We met at, was it Colony Square in Atlanta? I
Mhm.
can remember way back when. And I shared with you my struggles while I was in school. We graduated together in 1978, best class at Rockdale High before
Absolutely the best, all time.
all time. And I shared with you that growing up and all the time we knew each other and loved each other, I had this secret that I could not read.
Mhm.
Um, and my life had become really incredible. I was had a great career. However, I wanted to do more for people who were in my situation that could not read as adults. You take it from there. What did you do? Tell them what you did for this man here.
Well, so, like I said, Curtis and I have a history, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I was running my own public relations firm out of Colony Square. And prior to that, I'd spent 4 years working with NBC Network News, doing background work on news stories for Nightly News and the Today Show. So I give you all that context just to say I knew the difference between a good story and a bad story.
Wow.
And so Curtis and I reconnected. You had been living in California, I think,
I've been
but
living in
maybe
California,
New
yeah,
York,
maybe 10
um,
years or so. Yeah.
and came home to kind of be home for a while and start some things out in Conyers and be with your mom. And so we reconnected. And he understood what I was doing and I understood what he was doing. And through conversation, I just recognized what an amazing story Curtis had to tell. Certainly about his life and his struggles, but even more so, when somebody struggles, it's one thing. And then when they want to use that struggle to help other people, that's where the story gets especially powerful. And if I recall, we talked about your background in the food industry and your love for the history of food and the stories behind food. And if
Yes.
I'm remembering the story correctly, yes, we had some conversations about, your struggles with reading and how you wanted to help. And then we also did your bio and your work at Balducci's and,
You
we had
remember all that?
Cher was one of your clients and, all of that kind of thing. Um, and then I was like, okay, well, we need a hook. It's coming up toward Halloween. And so can you go on a television show and talk about pumpkins? We're like, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I certainly can, because the origin of pumpkins actually comes from Ireland, where they used to carve potatoes. And, I was like, Kurt, I was captivated. It was such a great story. And it came from you so beautifully and so naturally that I just picked up the phone and called my friend who worked on the assignment desk at 11 Alive. I said, hey, is your noonday show looking for some feature about the origin of pumpkins? I've got a guy, he's great, he's this, and then on top of it, I sent them your bio, which had information about your desire to help others with literacy. And I think from there, it was all you. So
Well,
I just made a phone call. You did it. It's you and your story and your heart.
thank you. Thank you. However, it was you, little sis, because you took that, because I had no idea what to do with that. And I just wanted to help. So now we both graduated in 78, and you've had it wonderful career. Tell us about the bee colony and what brought that about. I love the idea about bees being a hive. All right, before Beyonce, right?
That's right. It was before the Beehive. So like I said, I started my career with NBC Network News and then moved into working for an advertising and PR agency, and then spun off and started my own agency. Throughout the late 80s, throughout the 90s, we worked on national consumer PR campaigns for Delta Airlines and Russell Athletic and John Deere Consumer Power Equipment and others. And so learned a lot and did a lot. But we always had a commitment at my own agency to really fully serve a nonprofit organization and treat them like a real client throughout the course of the year. So that was kind of ingrained in my DNA, was to, like you, to help other people. And then when I was pregnant with my second child, we sold the agency to a group out of New York, and they wanted me to stay on and sign a 7-year contract. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing 7 weeks from now, much less 7 years.
7 years.
So I left and kind of started my own small consultancy then. With 2 little kids, starting school, I started getting involved in things that impacted children. And, like you, Curtis, growing up in Atlanta or in the Atlanta area,
Come on, let's name it
one of the
Conyers,
Conyers, that's right.
Rockdale.
One of the, Atlanta is kind of sadly known for being one of the largest, for one of the top cities in our country relative to income inequality.
Yes.
And if you look at the divide north and south of I-20, people have the misfortune sometimes of just being born into the wrong zip code, something that they can't help or impact.
I get
And so-
chicken skin when you tell these stories, little sis. It's like, we
Yeah.
lived it, right?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Out in Conyers.
I'm
Yes, we
Conyers,
did.
yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
And so, I got really involved in the nonprofit community here in Atlanta and just felt very compelled to use my storytelling strengths to help nonprofits tell their story.
And you
And
did
then-
a fabulous job, right? I mean, it's just
Thanks.
so the essence of Beehive. Tell me why and how that whole
So the idea of how bees work in nature, there's a concept called biomimicry, and the idea is that we humans can learn a lot by mimicking how nature works.
Here's hoping you had an incredible 2023 and are looking forward to an even better 2024. The podcast will be launching soon, so help me name it and spread the word. As always, spread love. Happy New Year.